Hello everybody, Coach Chris here, and today is mindset. Whenever you see my white pad right here, this means we are going to be working on models. And what are models? It is a tool that I use that I learned from Brooke Castillo to transform my thoughts, to get renewed thoughts. And basically we're looking at what are the unintentional thoughts that are going on that maybe we're not aware of. I call them limiting beliefs, sabotaging thoughts. They don't always have to be negative. They can be good as well. And what we're looking for is how to take these thoughts, what to do with them, and then how to replace it and work on and rewire a new thought. So today's mindset topic, normally I do something with weight loss. I do something with the plan, people that sometimes they're frustrated because they're not consistent. So we work on consistent thoughts and commitment thoughts, and those are definitely important. And if you want more on my mindset, you can go to my website. I actually have a little tutorial on how to start using this tool. I also have videos in the Facebook group. You can go to units and you can look under Model Monday, and there are several videos there where I'm coaching somebody on the model. So I'm basically helping overcome those unintentional thoughts that are not serving us. So basically, the rule of thumb for this is we have our thoughts, and our thoughts affect our feeling, or they create a feeling. When we have a feeling, we act on it unless it's uninterrupted or interrupted, and then we create a result. So we are always creating results with our decisions, which come from our thoughts. So we're talking about the things that we actually can control. There are things that we can't control. There's spiritual factors going on that we can't control. So I'm really just talking about what we can control. So today I'm going to be talking about the thought, the feeling and the thought of self-hatred. So I know I've experienced this. I work with a lot of women, and I hear this a lot of the time from women who have been dieting all their life, women that have been overweight, women that are not overweight. It's everywhere. And so I think there is a lot to dive in with this, and I'm not necessarily getting to the root of all this. I think that is a good place to start, but that's not really what I'm qualified in getting to the root of that. But I do think that if there are things that have happened in your life and there was a trigger or there was a time when something happened and you began to overeat or hide with food or medicate with food or sneak or start gaining weight or have a lot of shame and those kind of things, that's worth taking a look at with someone that can lead you through that and out of that. What I'm talking about today is how we're talking to ourselves. Now, a lot of times how we're talking to ourselves is from those instances. So we may need to do some work on that. But for today, I want to bring our awareness to how we're talking about ourselves. So I'm talking about the inner dialogue that we have going on about our bodies. When we see our body, when we see our face, when we see our wrinkles, when we see our fat, when we see our belly, all of that. I want to bring an awareness to that because I believe that we all have it. I believe there's cultural reasons and other reasons as well. So what I want to do, I want to walk us through the model. I want to give you some new thoughts to be considering, and then I want to give you a little assignment to even get in touch with how you're talking to yourself about yourself. So this right here, see if I can pull this up so you can see it. So this right here is the circumstance. The circumstance is always neutral. So you wouldn't want to say fat physical body or overweight physical body. Overweight and fat is subjective. It's not neutral. It's actually subjective because my fat is not the same thing as your fat. What I think is fat is probably not the same thing as what you think is fat. So what I put here is physical body. So this particular client's thought is, what does she say? I hate the way I look. And so what that sounds like is what I heard her say was, when I look in the mirror, I think I'm so fat. When I look at my legs, my leg is so fat, I don't like it. Those kind of thoughts is what I'm talking about. So when she has the thought, the way that she feels is disgusted. And when she feels disgusted about herself, what does she do? Does she show up her best self? No. She doesn't take care of her body. She punishes it. She neglects it. And maybe she overindulges because she is in a place of hating herself. And so she's treating herself that way. The result of that is the outside is reflecting the inside. She can't stand herself. She eats whatever she wants. She continues to gain weight. She continues to feel bad about self and shame self. And then the whole cycle starts again. Because when you're in that shame and regret and self-hatred, you want to make yourself feel better by buffering with food or with wine or with shopping or with working or with whatever you want to fill in the blank. So what I want to propose to you today is whether not taking a look at whether this is a true thought or not. This is an unintentional thought that will never serve you. You hating you will never serve you. There is no upside to it. So when I look at thoughts like that, it takes it out of being so personal. If I think about thinking these thoughts and how it's going to cause disgust and me not taking care of myself and me not standing myself, then I can at least be aware enough to decide, okay, maybe I need to take a look at this thought and maybe I need to decide, I need to come up with something else. Maybe I don't need to hate on me because it's not going to help me. And the more that you've thought something, the more that you've wired it in, the easier it is to go there. So it's easy to go, your brain wants to look for things to solve for. It's a computer. It's trying to solve for survival. And so it's trained to look at all the negative things. It takes 4 positive things to overcome 1 negative thing. So it's easily going there. So we really want to manage the thoughts. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about managing thoughts, and I'm talking about renewing thoughts, and I'm talking about rewiring thoughts. How do we manage it? First, we have to become aware. So that's the first step, is what are you saying to yourself? What I'd like for you to do is I want you to do a thought download, and I want you to write down all those ugly thoughts you have about yourself, hating on yourself. But I don't want you to, I just want you to get the thoughts down. I don't want you to go into the feelings of it. I don't want you to dwell on it. We just want to write them down and get an idea of how you're talking to yourself. Okay, before I move forward. Okay, now that's the unintentional model. That's what's going on unintentionally. Now we want to create an intentional model. We want to create a renewed thought. So the circumstance is going to be the same. It's going to be physical body. The thought is what we're going to work on. So some of us can't go from hatred to loving ourselves. It's just, that's too far on the spectrum. So maybe some of us need to start at just accepting our body, which would be hard for a lot of us, but not unfathomable. We then can move to loving our body. But we want to first start with acceptance. And you see, I have this as a process there. So if that's the feeling that we maybe need to start with, how do you show up when you are accepting and even compassionate towards your body? Here's the way I show up. I listen to what I need. I ask for what I need. I caretake myself. I don't give myself the junk that's going to make me feel crappy. Sometimes I do, but I have my own back. I have more peace when I am accepting my body. So how do we get there? Getting there is a process, and I want to start with getting aware of what you're already saying and learning how to get some renewed thoughts that you're going to practice. You're just going to kind of wake up to yourself, and every time you walk by a mirror or you try to put on clothes or you have that thought, you're just going to notice, okay, I was just really mean and unkind to myself. You're going to notice that. And then whatever thought that we're going to come up with, we're going to replace it. So one of the things that I'm doing is when I look in the mirror, I have a tendency to pick out everything that I don't like about myself. And I'm looking in the mirror every day, and this sounds a little bit corny, but it's working for me. I'm looking at my mirror in the mirror, and I'm saying, I love you, Chris, and I accept every part about you. You are just how you're supposed to be. And I know that I'm going to continue to up level because that's my goal. That's what I'm doing here. I'm up leveling my life in every way. I'm going to keep growing because I want to serve and I want to be a mother and a wife and a daughter of the King, and I want to be vibrant, and I want to do my job. I want to do my call. I want to fulfill my destiny. And so if I am in negative self-talk and self-hatred and in shame and condemnation and defeated and victim or angry and prideful, any of those things which are human, is going to keep me from being the best me I can be. So when I do this work, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing to put that stuff in its place. That is not what God says about us. I think we would all agree that is not what he says about us. He says that we are worthy and that we are lovable, and it's because of his worth, and it's has nothing to do with these wrinkles, this fat, this whatever. And so that's what I'm rewiring, because I have all these messages that have come in that say that are contrary to that. So I am picking intentional thoughts and true thoughts to rewire in. So we're doing the model here. So if we want to feel accepting, the result of feeling accepting is I give my body what it needs. And you know what? When you give your body what it needs, you guys, it responds. It may respond slower than you want, but if you consistently give your body what it needs, and it needs nutrition, and it needs movement, and it needs nourishing, and it needs self-love, and it needs water and sunshine and spiritual connection and connection with others, all of these things, you guys, it will release fat. It will come more into balance. Now, sometimes we're way out of balance and we need some help with that. But if I'm accepting my body, it is going to come into alignment a lot better than if I am hating on my body or if I'm rejecting my body. And I believe that our bodies store that type of hatred, and it's not kingdom. It's fear and it's scarcity, and we are not our best in fear and scarcity. We cannot create light. We cannot create the kingdom. It is not possible from that place. We want to get to a place of faith and abundance, and that includes the way that we think about ourselves. So I would like to give you some thoughts to entertain, to consider, instead of when you tell yourself, I don't like this, or I hate this, or I can't stand myself, or this is disgusting. No more of that. Now, you can't stop a thought, especially if you've thought it over and over, but what you can do is become aware, and you can renew that thought with the truth. These truths are going to be different for every person. It has to connect with your heart. You have to believe it a little bit for it to work. And you have to renew your mind moment by moment and day by day. That is how we are transformed, that's where the transformation comes. So these are some of the thoughts that I connect with, and maybe you will too. All right, here's the thought to help me feel accepting, moving to loving my body. It is possible that I can learn to love my body no matter what the scale says. It's possible. If you think it's possible, then your brain will go to try to find evidence for that, which is what we want. Here's the second thought. I'm willing to consider the fact that I'm enough right now, not when the scale says this. All of us feel not enough at some point in time. It is the human condition, you guys. Yeah, that's there. That's not the truth. And so when I don't feel enough, I operate out of fear and scarcity. And when I feel enough, it's coming from what I'm thinking. And so I tell myself a lot, like, girl, you are enough. Even if you're not doing it right, even if you're failing yourself, you're enough. And I tell myself that, and I tell my kids that. All right, here's another one. I'm learning what an amazing woman I am. That's kind of a hard one to swallow at first, but it's so fun when we're all amazing. Not one person is more amazing. We are all amazing. And when you discover that through your eyes, through God's eyes, you will have so much love to give and so much freedom. All right, here we go. My weight has no bearing on my worth or reflection of myself. That's another thought. Try those on for size. You may need to make a list of other renewed thoughts or affirmations, whatever you want to call them, that connect with you. But I want to challenge you to look at how you're talking to yourself. Become aware of that. Do a thought download. work on some models. That's a great way to come up with thoughts that actually elicit the feeling that you're trying to accomplish. I'll help you with it. Send in your thought download and I will coach you on that. But I want to challenge us to get past, or just even take a look at where we are now with how we're treating ourselves, how we're talking to ourselves. I had this experience where I was really, really down, and I had just gone through a really hard time with my best friend who passed away with breast cancer 6 years ago. And I was with her the whole time and at the end and all of that. And it was excruciating. And so after that time, I was so depressed. And I was also dealing with perimenopause, and I had a lot of things come up from the past, a lot of sadness that I think there was a lot of grief going on. And so I had about a year of grief, and I really felt like it was a time that I was sowing in tears. And during that time, I was so hard on myself. And I remember I felt like it was God speaking to me saying, treat yourself like you were treating your best friend when she was going through cancer. That's how I want you to treat yourself. And I couldn't even respond to that. I was like, oh my gosh, I could never give myself that much compassion. She was dying. I'm not. It's like, no, that's the compassion that we need to give ourselves, because you will show up better if you are compassionate to yourself. I promise you. Punishing yourself, which is what I've done for years, you never show up for yourself. It just brings condemnation every time. Compassion for yourself. So treating yourself, talk to yourself like you would your best friend or the person that you love most, your kids. Would you ever speak to your kids the way that you speak to you? So let's ask for the grace to be there, to become aware of it, and to use some of these tools to begin speaking to ourselves in a way that is loving and kind. I guarantee that your body will begin to line up weight-wise and even health-wise.